the start of classes ended the relaxed 3 days of summer, it didn't take long for you to get back into the swing of the school year routine. Schedules and homework became the new normal. Derek wasn't around nearly as much, to his great dismay. With school itself and after-school activities, there weren't many opportunities for him to take the trip out to your neighborhood, especially because he was always at some training camp or on a new regiment with a strict schedule. The two of you were usually stuck with merely telling each other about what was happening in your lives instead of sharing your days in the same place. But he was always good at anticipating things and being prepared for them. Derek knew he wouldn't be able to be with you that much going forward. That was probably the reason he pushed any notion of the two of you liking each other as only a concept for way in the future when you were adults and had taxes. Or it was at least one of the reasons he never fully accepted it, you were sure. But you still kept in touch over the phones as best as you can. The Jeremy kid did disappear after that summer, and no one ever heard from him again. Where he went or what he might be up to was a mystery. More summers came and went, like the waves on the shore coming in and out. In your second year of high school, someone new started to visit Sunset Bird, a sunny girl named Terry Brooke. She was a friend Cove made due to them both being obsessed. Terry was more than glad to be friends with you too. Someone close to Cove had to be good company, she felt. You were pleased to get along with her as well. Terry was tight with another girl who you had known distantly from school for a long time, Miranda Eckert. You saw more and more of her as time went on, thanks to Terry and Miranda's own outreach. After a while, all of you developed a real friendship together. As for your home life, the Madisons also had developments. Changing laws and public perception countrywide made it possible for your moms to openly wear their wedding rings without questions. Though they had a wedding years ago, it was only recently that the union was officially recognized everywhere in the US. That was a good day, to say the least. Elizabeth came into her own and stopped being quite as irritable. She no longer worried about perceived childishness as she grew up for real. She didn't even mind being called Lizzie again, although most people used Liz. She eventually graduated high school and moved out to attend college in another state. It was a lot for you to adjust to your older sister being gone. Liz never let you forget her role in your life, though, and keep in touch. Cove's relationships with his family improved over the years. Kira visited several times after that summer, and things became easier between the two. He was also closer with his dad than ever before. You knew they talked more, and that helped prevent a lot of friction before it could start. And Cove only continued to open up to his parents and the rest of the world. He was so bright, he shone. He would willingly join conversations, make jokes, and put in an effort not to use overly blunt phrasing. Cove remained interested in everything across the spectrum. He loved to learn and stay inside, but he also loved to get outside and participate in more physical activities. He was multi-talented. The friendship between you and Cove that you had cultivated for years remained constant. The two of you were close confidants. It was strange to look back on it all. The future faded into your present, and then it was simply the past. Even the most fundamental parts of your life couldn't last forever. You felt that the most pointedly the day you inevitably graduated high school. It was over, and you would not be going back ever again. From now on, what came next was your choice. You would be directing your own life. That was where you were currently. The summer after school had ended, the first summer of true freedom. What used to be reprieve from the typical was now going to be your first step into adulthood. One fine summer morning, you took in what had become a very special scene. The whole family having a meal together. Your big sister Liz still hadn't lived at home full time for a couple years, but she arrived last week to spend the season here since it was an off semester for her. She wanted to make sure she was in town because you had now also graduated high school, so who knew how much rarer these moments would become in the future. You watched on as Liz laughed good-naturedly over a comment Ma made. Her Elizabeth-only mindset had only been a phase. Nearly any nickname was welcomed at this point in her life. Strangely, even though she'd moved away, you'd lately felt closer to her than you had in a long time. You idly scooped up more of your breakfast and chewed absent-mindedly. You generally ate whatever, and the meal you had reflected that. It included just about everything your moms had made, though you often made your own food nowadays. With Liz around, though, your parents made even more options than usual. Your sister had been vegetarian for a while, and they wanted to make sure she had choices too. Conversation had gone on idly without you fully taking in the words, until your ears peaked and when Ma started on a bit of town gossip. And so that's how I heard the news. Alright, now stop burying the lead and tell us, what is this so-called news? Ma giggled as she cast a look across the table, satisfied that she had everyone's attention. Well, it turns out the Donnells won't be renting out the condo up the street as per Sunset Bird tradition, for the first time in what must be nearly 2 decades. A chorus of gasps and shocked expression were had all around. After the initial shock, your eyebrows pinched. Ma may consider them by name, but you and Liz always viewed them exclusively as the mean old couple who would yell at anyone under 25 who crossed their paths. Your mom continued on with the story, spreading strawberry jam over a piece of toast as she did so. They've decided not to take big trips anymore. Friends and family will be visiting them at their home. That's nice for them. Then have a good summer. Mean grandparents with no grandkids away from us. It's kind of sad they can't travel anymore. They've had a very full life. It's nothing to sneeze at. And you be nice, Liz. You don't want to end up like them, do you? You and your sister cracked smiles at the joke.
Well,
At least they won't be here to yell at my children anymore, Lanny. And that blunt comment made caught laughter from all three of you. Engrossed in conversation once more, you continued to chat with your family until the meal was over. As it went, once the food was eaten, the cleanup had to be done. Liz took the role of washing the dishes and passed them to you for drying and putting away. You had a set of cups in front of you that needed to go on the top shelf of the cabinet. It was a struggle to get them up without a stepping stool. You were short. That was simply your lot in life. You'd always been vertically challenged. You didn't think about it much. That was a struggle for you because you remember how you used to feel so content about it when you were younger. Liz shook you out of her internal musing by starting up an impromptu conversation. She seemed to be voicing the thoughts that had been buzzing around in her own head. I have to say, going back for another semester this fall is pretty intimidating. You'd think after the first year or two I'd have a handle on things, but no. You stole a glance at her, still placing cups in the proper place. I guess it's only fair. My first round was pretty general classes, and year one of my architecture major was the basics. Now it feels serious. I have to actually know some things. The laugh she gave was flippantly airy, but the way she scrubbed it at the plates held more force than necessary. I know you can handle it. How sweet of you to believe in me. Thanks. Your older sister's mouth quirked into a small smile. It'll be fine, one way or another. Oh, but I'm not trying to scare you away from college. If that's even your plan, what is going on with that anyway? You came to a firm conclusion recently. You answered the question as much as you were able and willing to. Liz's smile grew more reassuring as you did. You made it through 12 years of full-time education already. You can make your ideas happen, I'm sure. Sometimes it still felt hard to believe your public schooling experience was over. In the end, you soared through with high marks, and you felt satisfied leaving off there. It had been a familiar and fulfilling part of your life, but you were ready to move on. Liz picked up on the silence her question ended up creating. She decided it was time to make a closing statement on the topic. You're a good girl, hey? Do what's best for you, and we'll be here to back it up. Thanks, you're a good big sister. At that, Liz happily passed the final dish your way. She waved a soapy-soaked hand as a farewell and moved on to her next task for the cleanup job. You refocused on getting the last pieces put back where they belonged. You eventually moved on to a new chore, but that was interrupted by the sound of your cell phone. You had used a silly novelty song as a ringtone. You casually picked it up from the table where you had placed it earlier. The phone was a couple years old at this point, having been a 16th birthday gift from your parents. They decided which model to get, but you got to pick the color. It was rose gold, and it had a special charm attached to it, which was a cat face. The screen lit up as you gave the little device a swipe with one finger. You were informed by the caller ID that it was Lee. You weren't surprised. Despite having busier and busier lives and not living in the same town, you still had a good relationship with your cousin of the same age. Especially once the miracle of the both of you having your own phones actually happened. She got hers first, though. Tapping at the accept button, you answered her call. A familiar, bubbly voice came through right after.
Hi.
Hey, Faye. Sup? I trust I'm not interrupting anything major? Only some cleaning around the house. Oh, then you're welcome for my call. A distraction from that must have been desperately needed. Yes, thank you, my dear cousin. It's my pleasure. She giggled, and you could hear the dangling of the jewelry she must be wearing. Nothing amazing is happening for me either. I'm bored and felt like chatting. My morning shift ended, so I'm free for the rest of the day. That's good. You are off from your part-time job today. Like you, Lee had started dipping her toes into the workforce as of late. It made keeping in touch frequently even more complicated, but you both managed. What about you? It's been pretty normal. Cool. That's you then. So, how's Mr. Cove Holden doing? There was a friendly sense of genuine curiosity in her tone. She had always thought well of him, but that name was incredibly familiar to your ears. Cove, your next-door neighbor for the past decade at this point. You could count him among your group of friends. Nah, he was a very close friend of yours. Definitely the kind of person you could count on. Have you been making do without him, or is he back? No, Lee, he isn't here. Just like he wasn't here yesterday, or the last time you asked, or the time before that.
Sorry.
Oh, my bad. Can you blame me? Doesn't it seem like he should have made his grand return already? Plus, I want to visit soon, and he needs to be there too. You could understand where she was coming from. This was certainly outside the norm. For the past couple months, and the last few weeks especially, Cove have been going to his mom's place in Nevada. The two of you still regularly stayed in contact over text and calls, but still, your mind began to drift back in time to all the prior trips he'd taken to visit her. Almost every year, he'd have to go away for a while and then he'd be back. You never minded it. Your mom's helped you ship out care packages to him and his mom. It was already full of really great stuff. He sent you regular letters in return. That's how it was in the past, but lately he had been trying to see her as much as he could before taking long trips to another state became too impractical to do. His part-time work could become full-time soon, or he could be moving somewhere else for school. Cove hadn't actually been entirely clear what his plans were after graduation. Cove was hesitant to speak on that, even with you. It couldn't be avoided forever, though we both knew that.
Well,
Ahem. Maybe we should switch this up to a non-Cove related topic. That works. The rest of the conversation rolled on. Not much longer, though. We had to go, and you needed to finish your responsibilities around the house. The both of you exchanged goodbyes, then you went back to what you'd been working on before the call came in. As you wrapped up the last of your chores, you were approached by Liz, wearing a cheeky smile. I've got Mom's keys. Want to get out of this tiny town to do some shopping in a real city? Yeah, it's been way too long since I've gone anywhere exciting. Good, I'm driving. That was obvious because you didn't know how to drive. Go get your wallet and anything else. We're going now. With a nod, you made a quick detour to collect your stuff from your bedroom. You had money saved up from all the part-time work you'd done, as well as from gifts you received. After making sure you both were fully prepared for the long haul to the largest city in the surrounding area, you buckled into the car. It was a smooth ride there, with light conversation about what shops to stop at, and the radio blasting. The trip there breezed by, and in what felt like no time, you had gone from cruising down the road to cruising through the mall. Liz had her interests to check out, and you yours. Your hobbies and skills were still the ones you'd developed when you were younger. When turning a corner down a new length of the mall, your eyes caught on a little gift store. Your friends and family had recently given you many presents for graduating high school. You realized you wanted to give graduation gift yourself to give to Cove. Or you had a gift of your own ready to... I'll do this. You had a gift of your own ready to give to Cove when the chance came. It was something you had known you wanted to do, and you were looking forward to seeing his reaction. Graduation may have already come and gone, but Cove wasn't really around, so you had to wait. Eventually, the mall was explored in full, with every shop of note being checked over. Rather than going home, you decided to walk over to some smaller stores nearby. Liz had made thoughts on that topic. Honestly, malls are not a bastion of society. Even if smaller stores require extra distance, the brands are so much more. Then your sister abruptly stopped speaking and walking right in the middle of the path. It was a good thing no one was behind her. She seemed to entirely shut off for a moment. Liz? The attempt to catch her attention was unsuccessful. Something else had all her focus. Before you could puzzle out what might be happening, she began to mumble out of the corner of her mouth. Faye, don't draw attention, but look. What? With a harsh whisper and a subtle jerk of her head, She urged you once more.
Hey.
Look. You followed her gaze as best as you can to a large bunch of colorful teens strolling down the same path, okay? You faced back over to your sister with a confused expression and an unspoken question. What were you supposed to be seeing there? Faye, doesn't one of them seem familiar? She was practically bouncing at this point, so you looked the group over again, and this time you saw what she was seeing. Amongst the collection of strangers was brown hair, gray eyes, and lots of freckles. It's Shiloh, our Shiloh, from when we were kids. Yup, that was definitely him. I can't believe it. He's honestly just there. It's hilarious. That's incredible. Oh, but how do we talk to him? We'd have to pull him away from all those other people, and what if I'm wrong? Your mouth opened to reply, but she cut it off with her own answer to the question. I've got it. I'll shout the name Shiloh, and then we can act like it wasn't us. If he responds to that, we'll know without a doubt it's him. Faye, keep an eye out to see if he looks. Liz, can't you just try talking to him normally? Likely without even hearing what you had to say, Liz put her plan into action. Shiloh. She loudly projected the word across the way and then put on an act of casualness, turning her head away from the scene while brushing at the skirt of her dress. In a supremely awkward moment, you could only stand there as attention in the area shifted to the two of you thanks to your sister's shout. But of the many startled bystanders who became altered to your presence, one of them was the boy. From a distance, his large eyes met yours. He looked. A wide grin took over Liz's face. She pushed the rim of her sun hat up and away from her face while swishing back around to greet her own friend directly. Shiloh. Waving, she stepped a bit closer to express her intention to meet, without really closing the gap. She wanted him to come to her. Who you presumed to be Shiloh looked surprised at the call-out. He stole a quick glance at the crowd he was with and hesitantly glanced back your way. He was trying to double-check something. Liz remained steadfast with her gaze trained on him, and ultimately he broke away from the rest of them. After a light-footed jog across the brick path, the young man pleasantly presented himself in front of Liz and you. Hi, I like your hat. Just that simple greeting, and Liz giggling.
Hey.
Hello? I'm not sure if you remember this, but I'm Lizzie and that's Faye. We were all friends when we were little kids. His already wide eyes grew even larger, their gaze darting between you and Liz. His previously chipper demeanor faded into something delicate. I'm really sorry, but I think you have the wrong person. You could tell not being instantly recognized was going to make this exchange more of a challenge. Still, Liz was deterred. It was a long time ago. You were really young. I get why you feel like that. However, I'm positive I'm right. You're exactly the same. That face, the freckles, how genially you try to phrase things. You're even still wearing a hat. Instinctively, he looked up at his headwear with creased brows. not making the connection on why the hat meant something to her.
Okay.
We knew each other, okay? An uneasy smile settled on him as a silence followed Liz's speech. She was picking his next words carefully, and then the quiet was obliterated by a new voice bursting into the conversation. Shiloh, what are you doing? The rest of the group already left. A field trip is not a vacation. We're on a schedule. Startled, your head snapped towards the path. A distinctively unhappy individual with piercing magenta eyes, dark brown skin, and a sharp jaw stormed your way. He carried a cloud of authority with him, despite looking like he wasn't even 18 yet. Sorry, I didn't mean to ditch. Shiloh, whose name was now officially confirmed, gestured with a hand to add to the explanation of his absence as the stranger watched impatiently. They thought they recognized me as someone they knew, but it was a tiny misunderstanding. Liz periodically, as well as literally, put her foot down on that, stomping in frustration and getting more childish the longer she was around her childhood companion. We do know you. Shiloh merely shrunk in on himself. The tone he spoke with was pained. Sorry. You honestly couldn't tell if he was apologizing for upset feelings of your sister or the palpable dissatisfaction of his new acquaintance. That in itself was very Shiloh-like. Oh, you know him? Is that it? The stranger spoke in a dismissively scoffing tone, as if the words sounded so absurd to him it was almost amusing. Almost. But the sternness of his demeanor quickly reinstated itself. Well, do you know me? I'll tell you, I'm someone who has been forced against his will to be aware of what's going on in Shiloh's ridiculous personal life for a year. If the two of you had any importance in his general day-to-day existence, it would have come up by now. Don't bother trying to exaggerate any trivial connection you might have. It's not good enough. He's with us, and you'll survive without him. Now stop loitering in the road. It's rude. Excuse me? We're the rude ones? The high-strung ranting got an audible gasp from Shiloh, who finally started to speak up again in defense. Nate, that's really mean. It's also true. We're leaving. With that declaration, the unofficially introduced Nate indignantly spun on his heels and walked speedily towards where the group went, completely confident that Shiloh would follow behind. Oh, people can sure have bad attitudes, huh? Why can't they just try to get along? It's not hard. Don't worry, though. I bet you won't have to deal with him again. And I'm sorry, I can't stay to talk to you, but I hope you have a really nice life. Bye. And that was it. His final parting words given. Shiloh left the two of you behind to catch up with his own life that he had to go live. Liz watched his exit stunned, only to frown when it hit her that he was really gone. As quickly as he appeared, it seemed so fast you hadn't even been able to get a word in. She sighed, all the energy she built up releasing with the breath. I could have told him his last name was Fields. His birthday is October 30th. That would have proved it, but No. I'm sorry, Liz. You felt so bad for your big sister. He had been such a close friend in her early years, and their reunion was completely ruined. Why aren't you running after him? Liz merely shook her head, pushing off childish thoughts. I think we can leave it there, thanks. He's in the middle of a high school field trip, and it was already enough being able to see him. There's something reassuring about witnessing firsthand that he's still out there, enjoying his own part of the world. Though, if given the chance, I could definitely have a few words with him about the company he's got. She laughed, but you could tell there wasn't much humor to it. She was mad at the guy, even if she was happy to let Shiloh go. Maybe there's only with each other 'cause of the trip, and it's not usually how things are.
Right?
True, we can only hope the same for him as he did for us. Have a nice life, Shiloh. Bye, Shiloh. Liz smiled at you. It had the self-confidence you knew so well from her. Come on, little baby sister. Let's finish our own trip. Yeah. No matter how either of you really felt about the occurrence, it was something you simply had to accept. People you know just disappear and reappear in the most unexpected ways. The two of you enjoyed what remained of your outing until it was time to return home.